Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and today, in celebration of hitting 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, huge thanks for that by the way. If you are watching this video and you aren't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, it is a huge help. I am going to do a rage time. Yes, the thing that brought my channel to where it is today. So I've wanted to talk about this subject for a very long time because of course this is a field that I work in, and I have seen other YouTubers just recently covering terrible tab books. Now for someone like myself, I dealt with a lot of tabs growing up, and I'm sure any of you watching this video did too. And of course there are two types of transcriptions or tabs that you can come across in the world of transcriptions. And one of those would be official tabs, so things that were officially released, published by a company like Hal Leonard, and one of those would be tabs that you would find online. Now, of course, when you find a tab online, there is nothing official about that. That is somebody that maybe a hobbyist who has done their best to work out how to play the thing and they've uploaded it. There have been no checks put in place. Generally speaking, some of them are reasonably good, but most of them tend to be garbage. You will expect to find mistakes in those. But what you don't expect to find mistakes in is an official transcription book. Now, what you will notice when you look at various transcription books is that some of them say artist approved on them and some of them don't. Now, here's really the crux for me, the thing that I think is outrageous, and it bugs me that we don't, as a community, hold artists to a higher standard when it comes to this. It frankly pisses me off, because think about it logically. If you were to purchase a script book for your favourite film, let's say Pulp Fiction, your favourite film is Pulp Fiction, and you buy a script book for that, and you open it and start reading through it to, relive one of your favourite films, and it's full of obvious mistakes. Do you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France? A big cheeseburger, or whatever it happens to be, right? Just these terrible mistranslations of the things that were said on screen. It would be unacceptable. So I don't know why we think it's acceptable that you would pay a publisher for transcriptions of a piece of music and it to be full of mistakes, okay? And I'm talking full of mistakes. You know how bad some of these old tab books were. I'll get on to why they were bad in a minute, but I think from a band perspective, you should have a little bit more fucking pride in what you're putting your name on. Now, I appreciate Metallica probably don't read any sheet music, and you actually tend to find a lot of guys struggle to even read tab. But if that's the case, then you need to sit down one-on-one with someone and have a look at how they're playing these things. Now, I get it, of course, Metallica are a big band, and every single band that puts out transcription books, especially published with a major publisher, tend to be big bands. But actually, some artists really care. Now, if you just look at from my perspective, a lot of the artists I work with, just recently, I've put out a bunch of books with Kiko Loureiro or Ariel Posen. I've got some Murray Pringle. I've got an appointment with Murray Pringle tomorrow. And when I'm done with a transcription, generally speaking, where possible, I like to go through it with a fine-tooth comb with the artist for every little mistake. Because if we're putting something out and you're putting your name on it, we're not even putting my name on it, but if you're putting your name on it, it should be as damn good as it possibly can be, right? So I'll send my transcriptions to someone like Kiko Loureiro, the guitarist of fucking Megadeth. He's a busy man. And it might take him, 6 weeks to go through them and make notes. But when we meet up and go through these transcriptions, he's there to go, see this 15th fret to 16th fret here, you've put a hammer on, but I would have played that with a slide. That is the level of detail that you would expect. And artists like that deserve to be respected because they care about making sure the best product possible goes to the consumer or the fans. You deserve the best of the best. Let me give you another example from Wicked, the big stage musical, right? So when you open the vocal selections book for Wicked, you're going to see an introduction written by Stephen Schwartz, the gentleman that wrote Wicked. The gentleman that's worth about $65 million for having one of the biggest musicals in the world. There's a big section at the front of that book where he talks about why certain decisions have been made and how the arrangements have been done. A quote here, the piano accompaniment is essentially a reduction of what is played for the orchestra, edited so that it's playable by one person with 2 hands and 10 fingers. It basically represents what I play on the piano to accompany the songs. Then he goes through a little bit more on chord symbols. I want to acknowledge the help of a bunch of people that are involved editing the music so this book can be as clear, thorough and accurate as possible. That's somebody that cares. So I can't get on board with artists that just essentially license their name out to a publisher and have them release any old fucking garbage with their name on it. Yeah, sure, you should hold Hal Leonard accountable or whoever happened to publish the book. But I think that we just let the bands get away with a little bit much on this. As I said, like, I'm all about attention to detail when I do my transcriptions for people. So if there's something where I really can't work out what the hell they're doing, I've sent transcriptions to artists to check over. And sometimes, if something's way too crazy, I'll have a good stab at what's going on, but I'll put a little text annotation above the text saying, what the hell are you playing here? What the hell are you playing here? Because I want to fix it. And I've sent transcriptions over to artists, and then a few days later, they email me back and say, I've looked through all of the transcriptions, everything looks great. And I'm like, did you miss, these bits where I'm like, we need to go over this? I'm not going to name and shame people, but people like that don't care. They just want a product out there that you can buy. And I think that's a big, big shame. It's not good for you as an artist, and it's not good for us as consumers. Again, if you buy a product, if you spend money, you deserve a decent standard, right? And here we move on to why transcriptions can be so bad, right? I don't think transcriptions should be bad, because really, generally speaking, it's kind of like listening to me speak now. You could go through this video and you could write subtitles for this video and it wouldn't be up for discussion, okay? There's no maybe he said this, maybe he said that. When it comes to transcribing, there's no discussion. He either or she either played this or played that. They played this or they played that. And rhythms as well. It's not, it could be this or it could be this. We can be accurate with these things, and we can look at things and go, this is the best way to write this out. So when transcriptions are full of mistakes, I want to say it's inexcusable, but of course it is excusable. You are going to find mistakes, little errors in my transcriptions, etc. This is going to happen. But these things happen for terrible reasons sometimes. So if you look back at old transcription books, I think the reason that you find, especially in the early days when tabs started to become popular, the reason you tended to see this type of thing happening was because a lot of those old transcription books were done by musicians, not guitar players. And what I mean by that really is pianists. So you'll find transcribers on Fiverr.com who are professional pianists. And if you ask them to transcribe a guitar solo for you, they'll notate all of the notation and then usually copy it over to tab, and therefore all the fingerings will be wrong. So, of course, the classic example that we would give for this is back in the day when looking at Malmsteen's transcriptions, a lot of his lines were transcribed in position, where, of course, we know that actually he shifts down single strings with a lot of his sequential ideas. So if you were to get a transcription book where it was just notated in tab completely wrong, that was going to be a huge pain for you. And I get it, I totally get it. If you're a pianist, you cannot transcribe guitar with the level of expertise that you can piano. And likewise, as a guitar player, fluent guitar player, I consider myself an expert on, how things are likely to have been played because it's what I do for a living. I know the ins and outs of how you play guitar and how people are likely to have played things. I've got no business transcribing, world-class pianists because I'm not a world-class pianist. Now, look, I can have a go, but I'm never ever going to charge you to transcribe piano parts because I am not an expert. And there are absolutely artists on the guitar that are so far removed from what I do and what my understanding is, where my expertise is, that I wouldn't dream of transcribing them and selling you a product because if I can't put my stamp of approval on this and say, this is as good as it gets, this is exactly what's going on, then it doesn't feel right for me. And if it doesn't feel right for me as the transcriber who really doesn't even have his name on the product, then it absolutely shouldn't feel right for you, the band, putting your name on it. As the artist, as the person selling the product, you should not be happy putting your name on something unless it is top quality, because in 2021, it is completely fucking inexcusable for you to be selling subpar products, because people can go and get your transcriptions for free on Ultimate Guitar. So you need to make sure that when you're selling them, you're doing something very very special. Now, of course, there are some great outlets out there. Places like Sheet Happens are a great place to go and get transcriptions. Though, of course, I found some transcription errors in products that they've put out. But again, you expect minimal, small errors and things. I'll just throw one last thing at you. When I was in school, I remember in geography talking about maps, and there were tales of trap streets that would be put in maps. So different publishers of maps could essentially copyright their work. They'd make a map of London or whatever, and you put trap streets in there. So streets that don't really exist. But that way, if somebody copied your work, well, you'd be able to tell because they put the trap streets in there. And sometimes I do wonder if what's happened in transcriptions is people will deliberately put 1 or 2 errors in their work. So if anybody copies their work, you can tell that that's my work because I put those 2 errors in there deliberately. I can't say whether or not that happens. I personally would never dream of doing something like that. But who knows? It's genuinely a hard one to say. Yeah, very interesting subject. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think and feel about this, because I'm sure you've got your share of terrible transcriptions, terrible tab books. I had a huge collection of tab books when I was younger, and actually, generally speaking, I'm not completely, but most of them are garbage. And the ones that really hurt are the ones that say artist approved on them. So if you look at like the Greg Howe Introspection tab book, it's not in print anymore as far as I'm aware. You know, that thing is a bloody monstrosity. And you buy that with the confidence that, oh, okay, this is done. You know, this has been approved by the artist. It's been checked through. The thing is garbage, and it's not a cheap product. And you know, I don't want to throw shade at Greg, but at the same time, what else am I supposed to do? That was something you did. You deliberately misled people with that, because I'm reasonably confident that these transcriptions are not correct. That these are not playable, but you put it out anyway, and I can't get on board with that, and that's why I rage. That stuff really pisses me off. So tell me your stories of terrible transcriptions that you have got in the comments below, and let me know how they got in the way of you learning how to play the guitar. Lastly, I just want to say a huge thank you to my wonderful supporters over on Patreon. You can support me over on Patreon for as little as $1. Link in the description, and it's a great way to support the channel. You can get lots of cool stuff in return: private lessons, download my transcriptions, my Patreon transcriptions. You can get access to streams, get access to my Facebook groups, all of that good stuff. If that doesn't suit, you can also head on over to Amazon, check out one of my books. In fact, if I reach over here, here's my latest book, Hybrid Picking Guitar Technique. Go and check that out. All of the transcriptions in there, completely accurate, of course. Any questions, please do let me know in that comment section below. Hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your enemies, all of that good stuff, and I will see you for another video very soon. Goodbye.